My name is Chris Hand. If you're watching the show over on YouTube, hit like and subscribe. We do appreciate it. It helps feed my kids. Got a good friend over in Washington, D.C. She is a White House reporter for Turning Point. Monica Paige is on the line. What's up, Monica?
Hey, Chris. Thanks so much for having me. I'm here right now as we speak at the White House.
Thanks for joining the show. I mean, you guys have a busy day today. Like, we had some executive orders that are going to be signed. A lot of rumors about what the executive order could be. What are you hearing?
I'm here. So yeah, every day is so busy here at the White House. What a stark contrast to the previous administration. But yeah, I mean, we're hearing it could potentially be a dismantling of the Board of Education. There are rumors that have been debunked press secretary about somehow displacing or deporting some of the Ukrainian refugees that came here under the Biden administration. That's been fake news. Reuters has been pushing a fake story about that. So just to clear the air, it's not regarding any sort of Ukrainian deportations, but it could be Board of Education. That could come either today or at a later date.
Color me shocked that Reuters is pushing fake news.
Yeah, right.
What's the biggest story that's happening right now in D.C. that the mainstream media isn't covering? Like what's something that's happening? I mean, you're in the weeds on a lot of this stuff. What do you think is the big story that nobody's really paying attention to?
What's interesting is that during the President's joint address to Congress this week, we heard a couple of things that I think are really going under the radar. Giving thousands of acres of land in remembrance of Jocelyn Nungaray. I think that's something that's going under the radar. I think also President Trump announcing that he wants to create a shipbuilding department here at the White House. I think that's also a story that's going under the radar. I'm curious to see if he will kind of elaborate on something like that. I know I got a question in yesterday into the press briefing room regarding some of those Democrat, or all the Democrat women actually, during the joint session, not standing and applauding or supporting keeping men out of women's sports. I think that's something that's really not getting as much traction either. I think that there should be more fallout regarding their actions during that joint session. So those are just a few of many things that President Trump is doing here at the White House that really needs to be reported on a little bit more.
Does the liberal media take it serious how against men and women's sports the American people are? Or do they have their head in the sands as much as our elected Democrats that are in Congress and the Senate?
It's really hard, Chris, to understand the logic behind why they would want men and women's sports, given the fact that Peyton McNabb, a volleyball player back in high school, almost lost her life due to the fact that a male spiked a volleyball at her head and left her paralyzed. I mean, these are just, you can't say that you support women, but also don't support women who are hurt due to the fact that a man on the opposing team almost killed this girl. I mean, there's so many hypocritical messaging that the Democrats do that I just feel it's just so hard to wrap my head around, because thankfully we have logic on our side, facts on our side. But, as far as these left-leaning Congress people and the liberal media as well, this fight is going to be far from over.
Yeah, Democrats and logic is like oil and water. What do you think the reason is that the mainstream media hasn't covered some of those Senate Democrat videos that have been posted on social media? Are they willfully ignoring the fact that there's no coherent social media strategy on the left, or are they just as embarrassed as they should be?
I hope they're embarrassed, because those videos are so cringy. But I will say this, Chris. After yesterday's press briefing, I was approached by a so-called journalist over at the Washington Post who came up to me asking me what outlet that I'm with. So I just want your listeners to understand that I think that given the fact that they can't poorly report on this administration, because this administration is actively making this country great again, they're going to start going after us. They're going to start going after journalists and reporters who are not on the same side of the aisle as them. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye out for any sort of articles that come out about any of us who are standing for the truth. I know The Guardian posted a little snippet of myself and a couple of other conservative-leaning reporters trying to make us out to be bad. So this is what they're going to go for. They're going to start grasping at straws. They're going to start going after voices that they don't agree with and trying to make us look bad. But I urge your listeners to you don't believe the lies and the mainstream media propaganda that's been coming out.
Yeah, I mean, the dynamics have definitely changed, allowing more conservative voices into the room. I'd say even more independent voices as well. Has the old guard gotten used to you guys yet? The last time we talked, we mentioned that the mainstream media, the old people in the room, they weren't too fond of y'all.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever get used to it. I think they're going to keep fighting until things are staying the same for them, and that if that means they get to lead the charge in the press briefing room, then by all means. But I will say that the dynamic it's very off-putting for them. They're not used to this. There has been a sense of elitism that was bred under the Biden administration, where they feel like they are owed something. They are owed, and they have this a sense of entitlement. So it's definitely going to be an interesting next couple of months, and I don't want to get ahead of the press secretary, but I think around June she's going to have another shakeup in the press briefing room to announce, and that's going to, I think, really turn some heads and maybe make some people a little bit angrier. But I'll let her speak to it. I don't want to get ahead of it, but
Come on, come on. I wish you would get ahead of it, Monica.
I
Let's
know
break some
there's
news.
still a lot more. There's still a lot more to be done in that briefing room, and all I'm going to say is stay tuned. It's gonna go by quick. June's going to be here tomorrow, given the fact that all this White House is doing so much.
Yeah, I love that they're still not fond of you guys, and it's like they're just all on the left or just seem to be reality deniers. Again, since the last time we talked, we saw Joy Reid get canned. We saw yesterday that ABC's 538 polling is now shut down and defunct. Are they going to learn that the narrative pushing and the fact hiding isn't really working for them?
It's so funny because we don't know what the future is going to be for these networks, and they're all still here. They do not look happy about covering this White House, but we show up every single day with a smile on our faces, knowing that we are doing the due diligence for the American people. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, given that nobody trusts the mainstream media anymore, more people are feeling hopeful after President Trump's joint session speech than ever before. It's definitely going to be an interesting next 4 years, really, because if you think about it, we're less than 3 months out. I mean, just imagine what's going to happen over the next 4 years. Where are these media outlets going to go? I mean, I can see a heavy turnover into that press briefing room. I can definitely see that that's going to be coming.
It's wild that you say that they're not exactly excited about covering this White House because before the election happened, I was always silver lining guy, like, okay, well, if we lose, like, from a media perspective, we have a villain. From a turning point perspective, we have a fundraising initiative. There's some natural bonuses to being not in power, right? They don't see that at all. They just don't want to do it.
I just don't think they want to have a work ethic anymore. I think they like starting their days at 11 a.m. and leaving by 3 p.m. I think they like that. And honestly, I think it's a lot harder for them to cover, a more Democrat administration, especially under Joe Biden, because it was hard to work with them. I mean, there was no messaging coming out of the White House. Nothing was happening. There was nothing on the schedule. So, I mean, on one hand, you got to make it look like there's a lot happening under that administration. On the other hand, you're going to bed at 6 p.m. But this administration, there's always something happening. There's always something positive to report on. But leave it to them to always find something negative. But seriously, this is the most that I've ever worked, I think, in my life. And I'm very excited about it because it's all positive. And of course, none of the negative press ever sticks because the White House is always moving on to the next best thing.
Yep.
So there's always something to cover, and I'm definitely interested to see what's going to happen.
What is the feeling from the administration, speaking of always something happening? Yesterday, the Supreme Court decision coming down on USAID. How does the administration feel about that? Are they kind of just taking it on the chin and moving forward with the next issue on the agenda? Or how are they planning to fight back? What have you heard?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how they plan on fighting back, but I was up in the upper press area at the White House yesterday talking to Caroline's assistant and some of the other press comms people, and there's a lot of work to be done. I think they're focused on getting these big wins. I think they're focused on providing more transparency to the people, whether that's showing where all of our money has been going thanks to Doge, and I think that this is just something that they are going to be continuing on. And as far as legal battles in the foreseeable future, especially when it comes to these states like Maine who want to push back on President Trump's agenda in schools, I think they're very much focused on putting up the fight and doing what's best for the American people and for children. So I think this administration is going to keep being transparent, going to keep fighting back, and it's definitely going to be one to watch for sure.
And did I hear correctly that a lawsuit is coming down from the Department of Education against Maine in regards to federal funding for them flouting that executive order?
I think that that's something that they're looking into. I think Maine is definitely looking to the governor of Maine looking to see President Trump in court. I think she's very much pushing back on President Trump's mandate to make the schools more common sense again. And I think this is going to be a pattern that we will see over the next 4 years. I think the Democrats, they want to stick it to Trump just for the principle of it. It's definitely not going to be a good look for them, because at the end of the day, President Trump has all the cards on his side.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Now, you mentioned transparency a second ago. I feel like one story that the administration would want to get away from is the Epstein files. What have you been hearing about how that was laid out, what the release was like, giving binders to the influencers? What's the latest on that? I mean, I'm hearing rumors that Bondi didn't get it cleared to even hand out the binders. That was like a bit of a surprise. All sorts of rumors. What are you hearing on the ground?
I will say, from my own personal opinion, what a mess that was that day and those couple of days that had happened. I think who's at fault is New York State. It was their responsibility to hand over every single file, and given how messy the situation was, it did not get off to a good start. It got off to the wrong foot. Pam Bondi, it just did not look good for her. But as far as getting influencer access first, I think it was a wrong decision. I think what should have been done was Pam Bondi held a press briefing, a televised press briefing where everyone can watch and say, okay, here's what's going on. If you want more information, go to this website. It should not have been released, because just imagine if the shoe were on the other foot. If Joe Biden's attorney general allowed the influencers like Harry Sisson or whoever else to get access to declassified information first, that would be something else, especially for conservatives. So I just think it wasn't a good look. Got off to a poor start, and I think I'm hoping that there's more transparency regarding the Epstein files. I don't know if we're going to get that necessarily anytime soon, but still, I think not a good look to start out, especially for Pam Bondi. And a lot of people are bringing to the attention that Pam Bondi was going on Fox News a lot, and that's also not a good look. So, I mean, I don't know how President Trump is feeling regarding the situation. I'm interested to see if anybody asks that in the upcoming press briefing conferences. So we'll definitely see, but my opinion, not a good look, not a good start.
Monica Paige, White House press reporter for Turning Point USA. Monica, how can we keep up with you and all the goings-on at the White House?
Thank you so much, Chris. You can follow me on X at Monica Paige TV. There's a lot of people pretending to be me, so just look for the verified account. I've got a lot of bots on there. And I will say, Chris, there is a Marine standing outside of the Oval Office as we speak, which means the president is in there working hard as always.
Yeah, I mean, the guy doesn't stop working. It's been unbelievable.
Nope.
$1.7 trillion in investments in his first month in office. It's unreal what this guy's been able to do.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for having me, Chris, and I'm definitely looking forward to coming back on.
Yes, anytime. We're going to figure out a regular time to get you on. That's Monica Paige down at the White House.